Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. For today's video, we're going to be talking about the absolute dumpster fire that is the ArriveSCAM app yet again. Because on Wednesday and Thursday, they had two committee hearings that were quite long. On Wednesday was 3.5 hours, Thursday was 4 hours. Now, I was going to do a video on the Wednesday committee hearing because that was with Christian Firth, the chalet guy that everyone's more familiar with. But on Thursday, his partner Darren Anthony, this guy is a complete moron. He lied throughout the whole thing. He gets caught multiple times. His lawyers are feeding him lines all day long. And not only do the conservatives call him out and the NDP, but even some of the liberals are confused by this guy. But to kick it off, I want to start off with Michael Barrett and his line of questioning here.
Sir, I see that you're in the same lawyer's boardroom as your partner was yesterday. You're with the same legal counsel, is that correct?
Correct.
Are you able to ask your lawyer at what time Mr. Firth will fulfill his promise to this committee to have tabled 100% of the information that we requested by 9 a.m., a time that he agreed to? Can you tell us, maybe confer with your lawyer and get us that answer?
I'm not going to discuss my discussions with my lawyer.
Now we are only 30 seconds into this clip and the red flags and sirens are already going off. This guy throughout all these clips I'm going to show you, which some of them can be a little long, but please bear with me. He's going to be looking to the side, and every time he does, he's reading what his lawyers are telling him to say word for word. He's an absolute clown, but let's get back into it.
At what time will the information that has been requested by a partner of your company be furnished to this committee?
I'm not aware. I don't know.
You don't know. Well, some of that information was requested 16 months ago, and there was an undertaking made then. And yesterday, I told your partner I didn't believe him, that he would provide it this morning, and he said that that was, of course he'd provide it. That wasn't the case, but he proved me right. Your partner yesterday also said that everybody was lying, except for him and you. Said that the Auditor General was lying, the Procurement Ombudsman, the Globe and Mail, the National Post, even the CBC, Global News, all of us. So he offered no proof to that effect. And while we did offer proof that he lied to this committee, like I just did, in terms of proof by your partner not having furnished this committee with the evidence that he undertook to by 9 a.m., do you agree with Mr. Firth that the Auditor General's report is incorrect?
I would refer to his testimony in regards to the numbers that we were able to supply to the Auditor General.
So was the Auditor General's report correct or incorrect in your assessment?
Incorrect.
So the Auditor General of Canada is wrong, and you are right. That's your contention today.
Yes.
Your partner, Mr. Firth, refused to say who provided testimonials on your website 16 months ago and has failed to provide them this morning. Is your testimony this morning that you are also unaware who provided the testimonials on your website?
Yes, I am unaware of who provided the testimonies.
So you don't know who the Chief Information Officer was of Canada who there's only 6 quotes on your website, and you're saying that you don't know who the Chief Data Officer for the public sector was who provided that?
Yes, that's correct.
You're saying you don't know who the Chief Data Officer for Canada was who provided an endorsement of your company on your website?
Yes, that's correct.
You're saying that the Vice President of a major Crown corporation, who that individual is a mystery to you?
That's correct.
And the senior executive from the Government of Canada, you don't know who that was?
That's correct.
Now, I honestly don't know how Michael Barrett kept a straight face because I was laughing my ass off with this guy not knowing anything. But I want you to keep in mind that he admitted to not agreeing with the Auditor General's report. Now, we're actually going to move to an NDP member right now, and I have to give credit where credit is due. This man asked a great line of questioning, and this led into Larry Brock actually agreeing with him as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Anthony, I'm joining this study partway through, and so there's some testimony I haven't been privy to. However, the picture that seems to be coming to light is one of a small company with two principals that is getting lucrative government contracts, is out there finding private sector contractors and assembling them to work on this IT project for the government. Your partner indicated it was around an $11 million contract for which your firm received a $2.5 million commission. And all of that, could seem above board, except some of those things are not as they seem. So for instance, in some cases, your company isn't actually doing the recruiting. In some cases, CBSA was doing the recruiting, finding the resources, and then telling them to work through you. And more alarming is the fact that in quite a few cases, we have essentially your company is writing the requirements of the contract and then somehow getting the contract. Also exaggerating the resumes of the resources that are going to work on the contract, at least in one case, without the knowledge of those resources. And so this is a picture that is very concerning to the public, obviously. Can you see why the picture that has been painted as a result of these hearings is of concern to the Canadian public?
I can only talk about my contracts.
So I assume you're a director of GC Strategies. Is that a fair characterization?
Well, I would be the vice president.
Vice president, okay. And you have shares in the company? What is your capacity as an owner of the company?
We are 50-50 owners.
Okay. And what is your fiduciary responsibility as an owner of the company? Is it only for your contracts or is it for the entire corporate entity?
I don't know the answer to that.
You're a half owner of a company that does millions of dollars in government contracts, and you don't know what your fiduciary responsibility is to the corporate entity?
No, I have no knowledge of that.
Well, I find that somewhat astounding.
Like, come on. How did this company get any contracts from the government? This guy's the vice president. He has no idea what is required or what he even does, what he's responsible for. Like, you can't make this up. And he's sitting there smiling and laughing like this is a huge joke. These guys are getting investigated by the RCMP currently. This could be criminal offenses. I just don't get it. But as I mentioned earlier about the Auditor General, listen to this answer he's about to give Nim.
All right, have you read the Auditor General's report?
I have not read it, no.
The Auditor General of Canada has audited contracts that the company you're a 50% owner of has undertaken, and you haven't read the report. Have you read the Office of the Procurement Ombudsman report?
No, I have not.
So as a director of this company and a 50% shareholder, your company has been brought into the public limelight for potential serious misconduct. Your contracts with the government have been suspended, all of the contracts. And this is because of reports that have been written by some of the main watchdogs who work on behalf of the Canadian public. And they've raised major red flags about your corporate practices of a company that you're one of the two principals, and you haven't even read the reports.
That's correct.
How can you dispute the findings of the reports if you haven't read them?
I agree with the numbers that Christian sent for our, as he gave in testimony yesterday.
So you're telling me that the statements that you've made about the Auditor's General reports are not based on reading the report. It's based on what Christian told you?
It's based on testimony given at these committees.
I just find this astounding that someone who works at your level and is the 50% owner of a company that has been scrutinized and brought into disrepute by the Auditor General and the Office of the Procurement Ombudsman, and now is being looked into by the RCMP, and soon the Public Sector Integrity Commissioner is going to be looking through your business dealings, and you haven't read any of these reports. Like, this is, I would, if I was an investor in this company, I would be very, very concerned. If I was a contractor for this company, I would be very concerned. And if I was the government contracting your company, I would be incredibly concerned that you're not even following the bouncing ball when it comes to these major allegations against your company's business practices. Can you see why that would be a concern?
Sure.
Sure, that's all this guy has to say. He's literally getting bent over and spanked in front of us, and he's not even willing to defend himself. He's just like, yeah, that's it, man. That's what it is. And now Larry Brock comes in and he asks him a very softball question about partnership. And this guy has to pause to refer to his lawyers on this, and even the block starts looking around like, what is going on right now? Where are we? And the block member and Larry Brock start laughing with each other. That's how ridiculous this thing is.
Thank you, Chair. Like my NDP colleague, sir, I'm completely astonished of your complete lack of preparation for this committee hearing. You start off in your opening statement talking about how you and Mr. Firth have been wrongly portrayed in media, newsprint, committee hearings, MP, word on the street. You talk about the financial stresses, the emotional stresses, and you don't have any concrete answer to clearly relevant questions. You very proudly stated that you stand behind the words of your partner, Mr. Firth, that the Auditor General's report was completely inaccurate. How on earth could you have prepared any less for this hearing by not taking 20 minutes to read the actual report? I find it absolutely astonishing, sir, and quite frankly, it reflects very poorly on your credibility. So I want to ask you some questions for clarification. Are you in a partnership with Firth, or are you a director in a company registered either through the Canada Corporations Act or the Ontario Corporations Act? What is it?
We are partners.
Do you have a partnership agreement? Yes or no?
Just can I confirm with my lawyer for 1 second, please?
Yep, go ahead. Just mute yourself.
Sorry. We are a corporation, and I am a shareholder for that corporation.
So you're not in a partnership. You may refer to yourself as partners, but you don't have a legal partnership agreement, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So you are a director, and you didn't understand that directors have joint and several liability, meaning that you're both responsible for consequences of the acts of directors. You're aware of that now, sir?
I don't believe that to be true.
Okay. Well, you can check with your lawyer on that. Mr. Firth has put it out there in real evidence that he has committed, not on one occasion, but on multiple occasions, acts of forgery that would be defined as a criminal act under the Criminal Code of Canada. He claims it was a mistake. And as a former prosecutor, pretty much every single accused that I dealt with in the last 20 plus years always claimed they made mistakes. You understand, sir, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You understand that?
Sure.
And there he is again with his sure as an answer. Like, again, as Brock said, it's astonishing how little this guy is prepared for this committee hearing, for any of these questions, for just general knowledge of what he has to do. And as you're going to see the NDP, again, Mr. Baccarat, question him with great questions again, he even asks him about his job as a chief security officer. And he was supposed to secure a document or a contract, and if he did it or not. And he gives this answer.
Mr. Anthony, you previously said you're responsible for the security clearance, not only of the resources, but also of GC strategies. How do you exercise that responsibility?
Can you clarify the question for the resources?
No, for the company as a whole. You're the chief security officer for the whole company, and you're responsible for GC strategies security clearance. How do you exercise that responsibility?
Well, we have a secret facility clearance, and then I maintain that.
Okay.
And we follow those. We follow the guidelines set out by PSPC.
And you said earlier that the $13.9 million contract did not require document safeguarding capability. How do you know this?
Based on past testimony, I noticed yesterday that
from past committee testimony.
Yes.
Okay, so the office of the ombuds, the procurement ombud, stated that the contract for $13.9 million, the contract itself stated that, quote, the contractor must, at all times during the performance of the contract, hold a valid designated organization screening, DOS, with approved document safeguarding at the level of protected B. Did your company hold that security
No, we did
clearance
not.
at the time that it was signed? So why earlier did you say that the contract didn't require document safeguarding when in fact it did?
Those words are PSPC's words. I'm not aware.
I don't think so. This is the contract itself. This is the office of the ombuds, or sorry, the office of the procurement ombudsperson, and citing the contract. And this is the words from the report. The contract stated, quote, the contractor must at all times during the performance of the contract hold approved document safeguarding at the level of protected B. So I guess what's shocking, Mr. Anthony, is that you're the chief security officer. This is a security issue. We're talking about matters of national security, and you weren't familiar with the requirements of the contract at the time that your partner signed it. And it comes back to my earlier question about how you actually carry out your responsibilities as a chief security officer, or whether this is just a title that you divvied up the titles and you became chief security officer, but actually you don't do any chief security officer things. I'm struggling to understand how you fail to
that's
provide
our time,
this
Mr.
basic
Baccarat.
level
We'll
of
have to
oversight.
allow a bit of
Thank
time
you.
for if you could have a response, Mr. Anthony.
I have no response.
And when you think he couldn't have come up with a worse answer than just sure, he does. I have no response to a very softball question as to what is exactly you do. How do you do your job? Did you just pull your title out of a hat? It's a very simple question. But I want to leave off with Garrett Genius's line of questioning, because his reaction at the very end is basically sums up the whole sentiment of this video.
Mr. Anthony, you really had me at I didn't read the Auditor General's report. Now, this report was tabled more than a month ago. Your company has faced grievous consequences, which you have described because of this report. You've been required to testify in large part because of the findings of this report. And this report is feeding into an RCMP investigation that could result in criminal charges against your long-term business partner and against you. Mr. Anthony, this report is merely 36 pages. And at no point did you think, maybe I should read this thing.
No, I did not.
Mr. Anthony, why are you lying to this committee?
I'm not lying to this committee. I swore an oath.
You did, sir. What do you think you have to gain by claiming that you didn't read the Auditor General's report?
I have nothing to gain.
Why are you making this claim when it's clearly not true?
It is true.
Sir, how much time did you spend preparing for this hearing today?
Not a whole lot.
Roughly, though. How much time did you spend preparing for this hearing?
A couple of hours.
A couple hours. Okay. And you didn't think as part of that preparation, you should read the Auditor General's report?
It was against my doctor's wishes for me to be working. I have not been working since the start of December. We sent our doctor's notes. He's advised us not to work.
Your doctor advised you not to read the Auditor General's report?
No, he said he'd advised me not to work to lower my stress.
Okay, sir. In the couple hours you spent preparing, you didn't read the Auditor General's report, and you came here and you told us you disputed its findings based on what Christian Firth had told you.
Yes.
Now, I apologize for cutting in again, but listening to this grown man say, "My doctor told me not to," it's just like a kid saying, "The dog ate my homework." This is absolutely ridiculous. As he said, it's a 36-page document, and as Brock mentioned, it probably take you 20 minutes to read that. And he keeps reiterating that he didn't read it. He's just going off of what Christian Firth told him about it. But I want you to listen when Garrett questions him again on his authenticity on this. Look at his eyes. He literally pans to the side and reads verbatim what his lawyers tell him to read.
Mr. Anthony, I don't believe you, first of all. But secondly, I have a hard time making sense of your motivations. Mr. Firth is under a serious cloud of suspicion, suspicion involving events that you claim you don't have any knowledge about. With that in mind, are you committed to standing by Mr. Firth and believing everything he tells you, regardless of what this investigation reveals?
I've known Christian Firth since 2007. We've been business partners since 2015. He's honest, trustworthy, hardworking man and a parent. I have no doubt that he's done nothing wrong. I'm confident all independent investigation will establish that.
Were you reading what you just said, sir, or were you speaking from the heart?
Speaking from the heart.
Sir, I don't even know what to say. This is so ridiculous, sir. Like, is it not obviously ridiculous to you? You've come before this committee. You've been summoned here. You would have been arrested by the Sergeant at Arms if you hadn't shown up. And you're telling us you did 2 hours of prep. You didn't read the Auditor General's report, and you're committed to standing by everything Mr. Firth tells you, even though you had allegedly no involvement in the events that could lead to criminal charges. Like this, is this what is happening?
Yes, Garrett, this clown show is actually happening in front of you. Watching this committee hearing was like being in Bizarro Twilight Zone. I don't get it. But I'd love to hear from you guys. I know this video was a little bit longer, but there was a lot of interesting parts. There was more I could have added. I might do a part 2 to this. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about it. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.